r/OutOfTheLoop. Significant EC2466 says, what's going on with people saying masks are coming back? Here is an example, may not be the best one. Is there any official statement about new mask mandates, or is this scaremongering? If so, by whom? Update, well, this turned into a bit of a shit show. As far as I can tell, some hospitals either have or will mandate masks due to new COVID/cold/flu season coming around. There doesn't seem to be any confirmed mandates outside of the medical settings. Also to point out, I asked about masks, not opinion on vaccines. Geez, I'm not that brave. Edit 2, well, isn't this a turn up for the books? My wife is feeling poorly. After today's discussion I suggested she tested for COVID. We tested, we have got lots of tests left over, and positive. So now we are not visiting her granddad tomorrow, and I'll be sanitizing my hands regularly and wearing a mask outdoors. Not for my benefit, but maybe the benefit of others. We got back to the UK from Florida USA 2 days ago. Wolfkin says, answer, 3 things happened. 1. Morris Brown College in Atlanta instituted masks for a 2-week period because there was a COVID scare. It didn't spread, and the mandate went away. This is a private college. 2. Lionsgate instituted masks for one of their productions. It didn't spread, so presumably it worked, who knows. 3. Hospitals put out some paper requiring careworkers to wear masks. None of it was a governmental mandate. Hospital workers should be wearing masks anyway. But that's it. I like the Morris Brown and Lionsgate's ones were already over when the Daily Mail article went up and started this hubbub. Infohiker says, hospitals in Nye, at least the one I was at for surgery, have started limiting visitors. My wife and sister could not both be in the waiting room. COVID resurgence was the reason given. Infinite Zero Northeast says, also everyone is getting COVID, so you might want to mask up and avoid it. We just got through a week of COVID hell in our house, and we all wish we would have had the kids mask up at school, like we were considering but didn't do. Nodulabian says, answer, COVID rates are on the rise. Also, for some of us, masks never went away. I've been wearing them in public indoor spaces since spring of 2020 and haven't ever stopped. Significant EC2466 says, well, isn't this a turn up for the books? My wife is feeling poorly. After today's discussion I suggested she tested for COVID. We just tested, we have got lots of tests left over, and positive. So now we are not visiting her granddad tomorrow, and I'll be sanitizing my hands regularly and wearing a mask outdoors. Not for my benefit, but maybe the benefit of others. We got back to the UK from Florida USA 2 days ago. r/OutOfTheLoop. Unstablisland says, what's going on with the Greenbelt scandal and Mr. X? Is it a bunch of old white dudes getting kickbacks for stuff they shouldn't be getting? Why the investigation in the first place? Probablina Taskrel says, answer, I'm no expert, but I'll try my best. Urban sprawl is a problem. It's bad for municipalities, traffic, the environment, and it doesn't really help housing. In Ontario especially, it also swallows up farmland. The Golden Horseshoe was originally named that because of the quality of its farmland. Sprawl is, however, very profitable for developers. To halt the sprawl, the Greenbelt was established, saying basically only farms, wilderness, and conservation areas could go there, plus existing towns. It wasn't perfect, but it worked okay, and was way better than nothing. In the past, Doug Ford promised to leave the Greenbelt and to shade. He lied. Using the cover of the housing crisis, he opened up part of the Greenbelt to housing development. This would provide 50,000 homes of the 1.5 million he's promised. Whether this would really help the housing issue is debatable. My opinion, any small benefit would be outweighed by the short and long-term harms, but that's not your question. It seems the housing minister put his chief of staff in charge of choosing which parcels of land to remove from protection. The process was hasty, arbitrary, and seems to have violated government procedures. It also reeks of corruption. Numerous developers bought this land using high-interest loans before the changes were made. We assumed this meant they had inside knowledge, and now it seems they were giving orders to the government on which parcels of land to remove from Greenbelt protection. Ford has always been shady, and many observers have assumed there are kickbacks direct or off-the-whistle coming to him, his family, or other members of his government from the developers. His daughter's buck and nose is especially suspicious. Why does the daughter of a millionaire need to raise money for her wedding? This is, many suspect, just the tip of the iceberg. Now, who is Mr. X? Probably it's John Merton, former mayor of Clarington, though he denies it. Whoever Mr. X is, they were hired by a landowner named Peter Tannerbaum to ensure 34 hectares of Greenbelt land were removed from the Greenbelt. Apparently this farmland was purchased just before the Greenbelt was created, and developing them now would bring in a huge profit. Some key points: Mr. X is a unregistered lobbyist illegal. He hosted officials to fancy dinners and nights out. It's fair to assume there was more graft here, but the unregistered lobbyist part is a big deal. Unregistered lobbyist is a euphemism in my opinion. You could say fixer, but bagman is probably more apt. Sire, none or very little of this is proven, though given how scandals tend to go, all this probably happened and more. Many details are available through quick searches, but I'm tired of typing. Hope this helped. Unstablisland says, thanks so much for this. It's nowhere near me, but is now making national news. I don't pay a ton of attention to politics, so the key players, except Ford, are unknown to me. And despite what others have said, I've got no skin in this game. Just felt pretty behind in what appeared to be an emerging political scandal. I really appreciate your help. r/OutOfTheLoop. Farkle_Griffin says, what's going on with all the Nazis showing themselves all of a sudden? I've been seeing a lot more Nazi posts in the past few days. Why is this happening? Review Necessary 6521 says, answer, our politicians made them feel comfortable and safe. They were always there, but they hid themselves. Now, the politicians are speaking the same language as they are. Laureen6 says, some of those at work forces are the same that burn crosses. It is a cycle repeating. Bardfin says, answer, see Germany, 1930s. Mr. Slosh says, since this isn't happening in Germany and it's not currently the 1930s, you'll need to explain how this applies to the current rise in American Nazism. Rearcalium2 says, answer, nobody stopped the Nazis in the last 10 years, so it grew and grew, and now it's normal to be a Nazi. Nobody will stop you. You can spread Nazi hate, and there's no punishment. This is very similar to the pre-war in Germany. John Cyberpunk says, answer, it's because they feel comfortable to be Nazis in public in America. Keep in mind this isn't everywhere. Like, not in major Rust cities. This is happening in rural areas or in Florida, where coincidentally most of the Nazis and white supremacists are. r/OutOfTheLoop. It's Mapinkiri says, what's up with France? I have a hobby of looking at travel advisories, and I noticed that the travel advisory for France has a level 2 threat level, 1 is the safest level, 4 is extremely dangerous countries. The advisories don't really give many examples of why the country isn't safe, except for crime and demonstrations. In addition, I saw this about the new French law about filters. Is this all unprecedented? Can someone explain these things please? That underscore apathetic underscore man says. Question. Hasn't France had on again, off again government protests, class riots and casual terrorism? Key 1326 says. Basically since they stormed the Bastille, yes. Fivat78 says. Off again. One running gag about France is that every day there's always a strike or a protest somewhere. Coronet Capulet says. Answer. Exercise a high degree of caution in France due to the threat of terrorism. Orkiran says. There's less terrorism events in France than mass shootings in USA. Fuibu says. TBF I wouldn't put the USA as a 1 on the danger scale as well. Majaj says. Answer. I can only suppose that it may be caused by 3 main risks. Risk of terrorist attacks. For its military involvement in Africa, France has been the target of several Islamist attacks over the past decade. The most recent attack, even if it remains to be decided if it was a terrorist or just a random murderer, was a Syrian refugee stabbing 6 persons in a park in Annecy last June. Risk of getting caught in a protest. The current political climate is very tensed. The government and its party are pushing for several laws degrading the workers' rights, unemployment allowance, pension, and recently against police brutality, and there have been protests against these changes. A protest on its own is usually safe and peaceful, but the French government has been ordering the police to repress very violently about every protests, arresting about anyone they find. Bystanders can and will be assaulted and arrested by the police too. Risk of far-right militias. In several major cities, Lyon, Nantes, far-right militias are emboldened and do patrols on certain nights to catch and beat up anyone they don't like, gays, foreigners, POC. Recently, Spanish tourists have been caught in this and got attacked. These attacks are rarely reported outside of Twitter though, as mainstream medias and police turn a blind eye on them. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.